The Galactic Conclave's War Council chamber was a masterpiece of arrogance. 60 admirals, each from a different world, lounging in atmospheres specially tuned to their species. A glassy crescent of stars stretched across the viewports behind them, casting Veltran 6 in a soft blue glow. The planet, rich in plasma veins and gravitational singularities, had become the latest playground in their endless expansion. The broadcast screens flared with data from ground operations. Fleet Admiral Ralcor of the Zithil Swarm clacked his serrated mandibles, eyes glittering. So, this is Earth's contribution? A ground force of 15 and a female cripple? He spat the last word as if it tasted of spoiled ichor. Admiral Kress of the Volari spun a holographic image, grainy footage of a human in olive fatigues wheeling herself across the rocky plains of Veltran 6. Her name is Lieutenant Kira Voss. Old war record, very dramatic. Something about shielding her team with her body during the Battle of Virex Ridge. Spinal trauma, she refused augmentation. Admiral Kathon, a translucent aquatic mass suspended in a levitating tank, gurgled, primitive sentiment. She should have been euthanized and recycled. Laughter rippled across the chamber. A few lesser officers tapped into the Conclave's entertainment feeds, stitching together a satirical montage of Kira's footage, with booming alien music and exaggerated subtitles. The Broken Hunter returns. Only 65% of her body works, but her attitude is fully functional. Ralcor approved it for public broadcast instantly. Let the citizens enjoy the drama, he said, drumming his claws against the council table. Humanity sends an artifact instead of a warrior. They've run out of fury, clearly. Miles below, nestled into a jagged cliff on Veltran 6's night side, Kira Voss twisted the final bolt on her rifle's scope housing. The rifle itself was cobbled together from scraps. An old M29 stock, a refitted rail accelerator from a broken drone, and a scope that once served on a lunar observatory telescope. She ran diagnostics on the optics through her tablet, fingers steady despite the bitter cold. Her wheelchair, matte black with armored spokes, was rigged with camo netting. A powered exosleeve gripped her back, custom molded to her shape but silent, no servos. Everything she needed had to be manually adjusted. She didn't mind. She preferred machines that couldn't second-guess her. From her position, she had an unbroken view of the valley below. Alien patrols moved like glowing insects, their armors lit in spectral hues, confident in their own technological superiority. She tapped a finger against the edge of her rifle, slow, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Her team was scattered across the ravine performing reconnaissance. She had requested to be alone on the ridge, no spotter, no backup. Earth Command had hesitated, then relented, probably because they assumed she'd fail quietly. A wind stirred dust across her boots. She blinked, and her vision sharpened, not through augmentation, but habit, instinct, years of knowing how the world moved before it dared to shift. A soft beep came from her console. The alien propaganda feed had reached her team's local net. She played it, expression neutral. There she was, blown up in holographic mockery. The Broken Hunter. The subtitles mocked her gait, her silence, her slow movements. They dubbed in laughter over the moment she fell during training 6 months ago. Her arm seizing mid-pull-up. She paused the video. Her hands moved mechanically, familiar with every piece of the rifle. She inserted the rail charge, locked it, adjusted the bipod. She scrolled to the targeting map and selected coordinates from memory, mapping movement patterns of high-ranking alien officers. She didn't need to respond to the broadcast. She didn't need to tell anyone she was watching. They had laughed at Virex Ridge too, until she'd walked out carrying her squad leader's severed arm and 3 enemy tags. She reached for her scope. The metal was cold, but the grip was hers. Made for her hand, for her rhythm, for her war. A message blinked across her console from command. Kira, you okay out there? No action required, just monitor. Backup. ETA. 12 hours. She turned it off, without replying, then softly, so softly even the breeze barely heard her, she said, "Let them laugh," and she adjusted the scope. The wind on Veltran 6 didn't howl. It pulsed. Microwaves and static radiation danced through the upper canyons, creating invisible tunnels of interference. Most sniper optics, even alien ones, failed at more than a kilometer here. Most combat doctrines didn't even bother attempting precision shots beyond visual range. Kira Voss stared through her scope at a point 2.14 kilometers away. just past a rock formation that shimmered faintly with charged particles. Her gloved fingers adjusted for the drift rate. She wasn't looking for a silhouette. She was watching for a signal, a ripple in the EM field, a hint of psionic feedback that gave away her target's position. Admiral Vrel, a Zaraki telepath, hovered inside a portable mindlink rig on the edge of the enemy command zone. He was halfway through coordinating a planetary sweep with 3 fleet captains. His mind stretched across multiple bodies like taut wire. His head tilted slightly, just as Kira exhaled. The shot cracked soundlessly across the canyon. Guided by math and memory, not fire control systems. The ion winds didn't scatter it, they folded around it. Kira had calculated the dead tunnel, the one moment in time and space where resistance dropped to 0. Vrel's skull burst open like a fruit, mid-telepathic sentence. The rig collapsed around him, and 4 alien captains shrieked in mental agony as their mind link severed. One dropped dead from neural backlash. The others stumbled. Surveillance drones picked up the chaos, but no one could locate the shot's origin. Kira lowered her rifle. Her breath was steady. Her left hand, calloused and scarred, reached into a pouch on her chair. She pulled out a thin paintbrush and dipped it into white pigment. A small dash joined 3 others on the left wheel spoke of her chair. Not the rifle. The rifle didn't deserve it. The kill belonged to her. Inside the Orbital War Council, panic hadn't set in. Yet, Admiral Kress squawked over the live feed, voice flanched by panic. It was sabotage, or static interference. There's no way a human, certainly not that human. She shot a telepath midcast, muttered Ralcor, pacing. Do you understand what kind of precision that requires? A new Admiral, Soreth, of the Mixari brood blinked his translucent eyes. Could it be the sniper? No, Kress snapped. She's a cripple in a wheelchair. Her line of sight is barely functional. But even as he spoke, another alert chimed. On the western ridge, Admiral Vexir, a crustaceanoid ground strategist, had just emerged from his transport. He was dead before his foot touched the soil. A single shot severed his spinal column just below the neural cluster, slipping between overlapping plates of alloyed chitin. The angle of impact was geometrically improbable. The kill hadn't been seen. The body just dropped. Like gravity had failed. 2 kills. No muzzle flash. No drone sighting. No signature trails. In her roost, Kira waited. She never fired twice in a day unless she had to. She moved only after nightfall, wheeling herself backward along a gravel path she memorized by touch. Her hands trembled faintly from the cold, but her pulse remained level. A stim patch warmed her spine beneath the coat. She returned to her next. Hide, an old comms outpost covered in moss. Quiet, forgotten. From here she had range on the central plateau. She assembled her scope again in silence, humming softly under her breath. Something old. Something from before her legs stopped working. The third shot came after 2 days of waiting. Admiral Niror, a tactical genius from the Gloon caste, was briefing officers in an open-air drop hub when a rail round entered through the curve of his lower eye and exited through his left temple. He was dead before his aides realized he'd paused mid-sentence. Kira was already half a kilometer away by then, her rifle disassembled, packed into the armored casing behind her chair. She didn't move fast, but she moved silently. Always, away from the light, always with intention. At the next rest stop, she pulled the brush again. Dash. Another mark. 4 now. Back in orbit, the War Council dissolved into accusations. She's a myth. Kress shouted. Some kind of Earth psychological operation, they want us to believe it's her. Why would they lie? Hissed Ralcor. They sent her here. They didn't even deny it. A xenopsychologist was summoned to the chamber, a soft-voiced being from the Darren hive, its antennae quivering with tension. I believe this is real, it said. The humans are using her not just as a weapon, but as a symbol. They let us see her. They wanted us to laugh. And now every Admiral wonders if they're next. It's brilliant. It's brutal. It's human. What do we do? The psychologist's mandibles quirked. You run. Or you pray. Down on the surface, the wind shifted again. Kira clicked the targeting module off and rested her head against the back of her chair. Her eyes closed. Her muscles ached, but it was the ache she knew, earned, worn like armor. A private message pinged from command. Nice shooting, Ghost. Intel confirms triple Admiral elimination. Still need backup? She didn't respond. She never did. Instead, she whispered to the empty air, as if to no one or to all of them. One shot, one ghost. The command AI aboard the Zetherian Spire, flagship of the Conclave's orbital armada, stuttered mid-calculation for the first time in 700 years. Alert. Discrepancy detected in confirmed engagement logs. Source: Human Unit Voss, Kira. Status: medically discharged non-combat. Kill count: 14. Kill count: 27. Kill count: 41. Kill count: 53. Updating. Error. Loop detected. Recalculating. Fleet Admiral Ralcor stared at the readout with an eye twitching so violently that his retinal membrane tore slightly. It's a glitch. It has to be a glitch. The human is paralyzed. The data was clear. Kira's military ID was tagged as inactive since the Virex Ridge campaign. She had received no resupply, no drone support, and had been dropped with no backup. And yet the feed from planetary reports showed her tally climbing. Faster now. Kill 42 was Admiral Thrix, dissected mid-transit as he passed through a matter phase gate. That had been impossible. Quantum fields refracted light and kinetic energy unpredictably. No one had ever landed a successful kill through a portal field, until Kira Voss did. She'd timed it perfectly, her calculations accounting for the time dilation lag, wind shear on both sides, and gravitational warp at the tunnel's exit. The Riwa round exited the other side a microsecond before Thrix completed transit. One shot. Clean. Clinical. Her legend bloomed, not in broadcasts, but in whispers. Alien squads refused to enter Highlands. Officers swapped helmets for personal deflector domes. Some command staff never left orbit. Others refused to use any form of visible transport. But still they died. On the morning of the 50th confirmed kill, Admiral Kress, who had openly mocked Kira on every news channel, decided to stage a rebuttal. We face not a god, not a phantom, but a propaganda puppet. She is flesh and rust, a myth built by humans to distract us from their irrelevance. The broadcast beamed across 9 systems, piped even into Earth Command, who had quietly moved Kira's file to the non-recoverable folder just a month ago. Kress's image crackled mid-sentence. A sudden spark behind his eyes. His skull imploded on live feed. The camera tilted, capturing the back of his chair covered in blood and bone fragments before the transmission cut. No one replaced him on the feed. Down on Veltran 6, Earth Command scrambled. The brass who had assumed Kira would die quietly on some rock now demanded updates. Logistics officers argued over resupply drops and airlifts. One general tried to hail her directly. There was no answer. Kira had removed her communication node 2 weeks ago. She didn't need oversight. She didn't want applause. She was hunting. Each site she left behind bore a signature, not a sniper's mark, but a message carved into stone, sometimes with her combat knife, sometimes with bullets, melted into the wall. You should have aimed lower. It wasn't a threat. It was a verdict. On the edge of the Morath Plateau, an alien cadet knelt near one of those etchings. His name was Jir, a juvenile of the feathered Voleri caste, barely old enough to serve. He touched the scrawled letters like they were sacred, scripture. Around him, the bodies of his commanding officers still smoked. He whispered a prayer, not to his ancestors, not to the conclave, but to her, to the broken hunter, to the ghost. My father mocked her, he whispered. He's gone now. He drew the same mark in the dirt with a claw. A wheel spoke. 5 slashes. She had become myth. Back on Earth, the brass watched their maps update without their help. Human troops, initially stranded, now moved with confidence. Their zones expanding wherever Kira's last kill had dropped. Morale soared. Command reactivated her profile, retroactively promoting her to major. They didn't realize the insult it would be to try and pin a medal on her. She didn't fight for Earth anymore. She fought for the silence between breaths. For the memory of the ones she couldn't save. For the ghosts only she could see on wind-worn ridges. Her rifle spoke once more that night. A conclave admiral tried to escape via stealth dropship. The round tore through 2 meters of durasteel and a cloaking mesh, striking just above the spine. In the data feed, the command AI tried to log it. Kill count 57. Error. Updating. The AI froze, then resumed. Kill count 57. Error. Updating. Error persists. Source unknown. Loop continues. Down in the ravines, Kira Voss rolled forward through moonlight, her chair silent, her face unreadable. And far behind her, etched into a wall where shadows never reached, You should have aimed lower. The last admiral watched the sky turn black. Veltran 6's twin moons glinted above the ruins, casting silver light over the carnage below, fields littered with the shattered husks of mechs, charred plasma casings, and curling alien limbs. The ridge where the humans had dropped their weakest operative now looked like a graveyard sculpted by precision and wrath. The Galactic Conclave had finally located her, Lilthan Kira Voss, broken, crippled, alone. She hadn't moved in days, at least, not according to satellite optics, so they sent in Unit Crucible, an elite 10-squad formation of shock troopers and neural tacticians trained in urban suppression, not to kill her, oh no, they wanted her captured, paraded, disassembled for study. As their boots touched down on the outcrop, they stepped over skeletons of former war machines, Conclave combat drones rigged to explode, exosuits stacked like trophies, and thermal ghosts of bodies that hadn't finished burning. Then the mist shifted. Click, the plateau erupted. Mines stitched from old Earth shrapnel shredded the air with molten steel. The second line of troopers was already falling before the command even called for evasive maneuvering. Kira didn't fire. She watched. Her scope swept over them with a hunter's patience, until she found her real targets, standing above in a command floatcraft cloaked in photon-bending armor. 5 admirals, all the ones left. Overlapping defense matrices, redundant neural barriers, even decoys standing shoulder to shoulder. She didn't blink. Her round, an Earth-forged, depleted uranium core, customized with a thermal-seeking tip, left the barrel and vanished from view. It struck the first admiral in the chest, glanced off his deflector panel, bounced to the polished shoulder of the one next to him, ricocheted into the third's breathing valve, cracked the neural implant of the fourth, and finally entered the fifth's mouth as he screamed, 5 kills. 1 shot. The feed from the command floatcraft cut to static. In orbit, the Conclave Armada's remaining officers stared at the data stream. Kill count, 96. Updating, 97. Updating, 98. 99. They broke. There was no more protocol. No more orders. No more talks of honor or species superiority. They opened a transmission. Not to Earth Command, not to the Conclave Senate, to her. The message was simple. No titles, no pride. Just static-filled humility. We surrender. To the broken hunter. Please stop. Kira didn't respond. She sat, at the edge of her ruin outpost, the sun rising behind her, and adjusted the sling on her rifle. Then her system chirped. Kill count, 100. Upload complete. That was the end of the war. Months later, Earth Command tried to spin it. Medals were printed. Speeches drafted. Her image splashed across propaganda feeds as a symbol of unyielding willpower and biomechanical innovation. They never mentioned that she'd refused all implants, or that she'd built her own targeting interface from spare scout drone parts and the rusted frame of an agricultural bot, or that she hadn't spoken to Earth Command since her second kill. They invited her home. She didn't reply. Instead, she sent back one message. I'm not broken. I'm just done. Flashback Virex Ridge. Kira's rifle had jammed from plasma overload. Her squad lay scattered across the trench, screaming, some already unconscious. Enemy troopers closed in from above, bounding through debris. She had a chance to run. She could have dived into cover, left the wounded, but she stayed. Grabbed a pulse launcher, fired wildly. She saved them, all of them, and the enemy fire took her spine. When she woke up 2 weeks later, Earth Command offered her a cybernetic spine. She refused. I'd rather remember. Now, on Veltran 6, the mist rolled over the hills again. Kira wheeled through the haze, her rifle laid across her lap like an old friend. Behind her, the ruins fell silent. Her outpost stripped clean, every piece of evidence left behind as folklore. She vanished into the gray. On the ridge where she had waited, where her breath had stilled and her sights had leveled against gods and generals, one final mark remained, scorched into the stone in 5 languages: Conclave Standard, Volari Glyph, Earth Basic, Terran Braille, and even a primitive pictograph. Let them laugh. And beneath it, a number $100, not a boast, a eulogy, a boundary no admiral would ever cross again. Let me know if you'd like the full story compiled into a single document or formatted for publication or audio narration.